Chapter 2 Overview. We will explore why current models of racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic inequality do not adequately explain observed gender differences in health. Introduce the framework for explaining these differences from the innovative sociological perspective of constrained choice. Framework is used to shed light on how decisions by different social groups, from governments to employers and families, review sociological theories of rational action that provide insight into health behavior, with two questions in mind. What keeps men and women from making health an everyday priority, and what factors contribute to the differences in men's and women's choices? Does inequality explain the paradoxical gender differences in health? Racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic health disparities contribute to, and in some cases interact with, the gender difference. To understand what aspects of the broader array of differences in men's and women's lives and their physiology contribute to morbidity and mortality paradox, we need a model that takes into account factors other than inequality, resources, discrimination, and other unfair treatment. Gender differences in morbidity and mortality vary across racial and ethnic and socioeconomic groups. Social inequality does affect gender differences in health. Models of inequality and health disparities are not enough to address observed paradoxical gender differences, either within or across countries. Example, factors such as poverty and discrimination, although critical to understanding racial and ethnic and socioeconomic variation in morbidity and mortality among men and women. This cannot fully explain why women's longevity and men's earlier deaths, and they only partially explain women's pattern of greater morbidity relative to men. What is missing from current models of social determinants of health? One of the most influential sociological perspectives on health focuses on social position, including the unequal distribution of social and economic resources and the related variation in exposure to stress as a fundamental cause of health disparities. We cannot substitute gender for race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status in the existing models because they are not constructed to capture the complex ways in which men and women are advantaged and disadvantaged in both mortality and morbidity. Most models of social determinants of health incorporate biological processes. Only recently have researchers begun to assess these factors. Example, men's general economic advantages would not likely explain their earlier mortality compared to women. Although researchers have examined some of the pathways through which social factors might differentially affect men's and women's health, including positive and negative behaviors, exposures to stressors, and coping styles. For the most part, this approach has not been used to explain gender differences in health. Our proposed model of constrained choice addresses these missing elements in current models of equality and health disparities. Constraints on choice in everyday life. Constrained choice provides a comprehensive social framework for considering the influence of multiple levels of social factors. We contend that a wide variety of decisions and actions by the government, states, communities, employers, and families can also influence health and gender differences in health, both directly and indirectly, by constraining individual choices to varying degrees. Everyday life decisions. To better understand the implications of constrained choice for men's and women's health, consider these decisions. Decisions about neighborhood and housing, decisions about raising and caring for children, decisions about family income, decisions about integrational support. Such decisions are constrained to varying extents by the variety of factors. Toward a sociology of constrained choice, We are not posing constrained choice as a deviation from idealized notion of free choice. Rather, we are describing a process by which choices are made, choices that can differentially affect the health of men and women. Constrained choices may also affect positive and negative health behaviors and coping styles that affect both physiological and physical functioning. 3 levels of organizational contexts that influence men's and women's lives and constrained choice. 1. Social policy. 2. Community actions. And 3. Work and family level. Social policy. Just as individuals and families must create budgets, all governments, regardless of per capita income levels, must grapple with how to set priorities and allocate resources regarding the public's health and welfare. Community actions. We use the term communities to refer to both social networks of the relationships with family, friends, and acquaintances at home and at work. Because of gender differences in role activities and role expectations, men and women differ in their exposure to specific daily hassles, which in turn affects their stress levels. For example, compared to men, women make more trips to engage in shopping and other household-sustaining activities, and women with children are more likely to chain these trips with travel and to and from work. Work and family level. Expectations for occupational and family roles create what for many, at least at times, are irreconcilable objectives. There are no models for how to resolve conflict and competing demands either as individuals or as families, and no framework for how to choose health in this evolving context. We are also affected by the culture of our workplace, including relationships with coworkers. The culture of one's workplace sets expectations regarding the hours one will work and the possibilities of balancing work and family. A workplace that demands long hours will place a greater strain on those who have more demands at home, which is more common for women than men. Are people acting irrationally when they don't make health a priority? Current models of health behavior include economic theories of rational behavior and the physiological health beliefs model, imply that people act irrationally when they make life choices that are not good for their health in the long run. Recognizing the constraints in the context of everyday decisions made by individuals reveals how such choices and behavior can be understood to be rational, even if they do not appear consistent with people's priorities. Sociological theories of rational action. In his essay Beyond Rational Choice Theory, Raymond Boudin argues that health behaviors generally depend on an individual's beliefs, which are shaped by both cognitive perceptions and social contexts. Rational choice theory argues that individuals choose the best option for achieving their objectives, and that such instrumental choices and actions are rational. However, we recognize that the reasoning of an individual man, woman, family, community, or policy-making body, although rational, may not be instrumental and thus may not lead them to an effective option for achieving their objective. As an alternative to rational choice theory, Boudin proposes a cognitive theory of action. This model assumes that an action can be explained, 1. by its meaning to the actor, and 2. his or her perception of the strength of the underlying system reasoning that may be action meaningful. Overall, a sociological theory is needed to explain how such choices may rely on or consist of something other than rationing. Attaching meaning to circumstances, events, and roles. The sociology of constraint choice provides a means for understanding how individuals have agency, the ability to act on their own behalf, and are rational actors with competing demands and limited resources that shape their choices. The meaning attached to changes in circumstances or status that have the greatest impact on central components of one's identity or sense of self is most likely to lead to a reformation of properties. Context of everyday decisions. Context can refer to many different levels, including a wide array of factors that shape individuals' experiences and lives. Context ranges from immediate family dynamics or circumstances to the state of economy and international relations.